going to Angkor Wat early in the morning. It's 4:30 because Angkor Wat opens up theoretically at 5:30. And the only thing I have left to do is to climb to the very top, of which there is a special line. Okay, we're waiting for the sunrise as the slowly gets a little bit brighter. But my goal is to get to the first of the line up there, so I will draw a balance between an ideal sunrise and reminiscent of Barbara Eden's or Ider's song line, "How many creatures watch the sunrise?"
Yeah. That man left the camera playing. You've seen a lot. You've seen Angkor.
C'è anche le macchine per visitare stanno venendo
Don't tempt me.
See, the green thing's coming out in it now.
Dove vuoi attaccare?
Io poi che il gioco. Sciule, che io sciule. Che io sciule.
One of the most fascinating times to be at an old ruins. The tourists are all down taking more of the sunsets. So I'm inside the upper level of the temple, where I need to be to go up these stairs, but they don't open till 8 o'clock. So I just had an interesting discussion with a guide who speaks excellent English, but I'm bound and determined to be the first person in line. This is my one goal today, is to get to the top of this, even though he says it's not that important, and it probably isn't. It's just a goal. And being as anal as I am, I have to do it. So I'll stand in line here for another hour and a half till I get to be first up the stage. As I sit here waiting my hour and 10 minutes now till this stairway opens up for me, I wonder what these holes were for. You would think they were for columns. Now notice there are rows. But they seem all to be to the left side here of the entrance instead of evenly spread on both sides. But you'll notice that they are in alignment in both axes, although it's a trapezoidal design. They have a curious security issue with regard to hats. Can't wear a hat into a bank. You can carry it, but you can't have it on. And it's not a question of respect, I don't think. It's got to do with security. It's interesting how some parts are weathered, some are not. Must be the flow of water from above, the minute bit of protection from above. But also notice how these stones are shifting And what can they do to fix these? They can probably arrange these a bit, but you certainly can't adjust the entire complex. You can just keep tweaking it, trying to get it to level out, keep from falling apart. Just looking at the way these have separated, I'm reminded that a tourist asked a guide at one of the sites how come Angkor Wat was in such good shape, and they commented because it's never been unoccupied, never been not used. But I'm not sure why that would cause it to be in better shape, unless there was some evidence of ongoing restoration and maintenance, which is hard to imagine given the culture that I've seen. It would seem that an argument could be equally made that by using it, you in fact inflict more possible damage on it. Recall looking at one of the long walls of carved bas-relief images that had been half destroyed because nobody bothered to fix the roof that protected it, or even put a temporary covering on to protect it. And you don't destroy bas-reliefs in a week. It takes probably several years to do any visible, appreciable damage. It's interesting if these size bricks are the ones that are used in most of the temples. Angkor Wat is notable because of the use of stone rather than brick, but I'll bet you the bricks used for restoration. You look at this array of rocks, you notice a couple of things. That narrow gap in the center left, notice that the rocks are slanted. So presumably they started on the left side and started cutting their stones to fit. Also notice that in the lower right-hand corner of that one, the stone to the right of that narrow slot fits into its own little slot right there in the stone beneath the two of them. And there's the same step down on this one here. Was that a technique to somehow prevent slippage or movement? And if so, why was it not done elsewhere consistently? And I do notice a little bit more of this dynamic, but it's not consistent for some reason. Like on this row right here, you can see there's just the slightest little bit of step down, I think. Maybe not. Here there is. And it looks like down here there is. So it seems like it's just along this line that you get that step down. Could it be that they cut all of the rocks at the same height, but then when they got to this second or third course from the left, they discovered that they were off a bit, and it was easier to level up the top by notching out the bottom. Here on the left side of the stairs, the technique is used again more randomly there in that one spot, and not again till the second course down, or third course down, right there, and maybe right there. So it looks like an ad hoc. Oh, and also right there. So it looks like an ad hoc adjustment. So here we are at the first juncture, pretty much a standard design. Here again, as I pan around, you'll see that around this top mountain, which represents Mount Meru, is 4 of these recessed areas, or courtyards for lack of a better term, which may represent the continents. And that's my friend Les that I met. Interesting story about him. Here we're just on another dividing wall, if you will, or colonnade between two of these 4 courtyards. And as you might imagine, dead center is kind of like a shrine area. And there would be some kind of totem in here. I don't know exactly what would have been here. My guess is that there's one of these for each of the 4 cardinal points underneath the temple. This is Les, and he's a ship's second mate officer on commercial ships working out of a company in Fort Lauderdale, but he lives in somewhere down in Indonesia. I think Java. He has a home there. He sold everything in the United States now, but I'm sure as second captain on these huge ships, he makes excellent money. And I'm guessing I'll go over there next and be sure that there is a shrine in each of these sections. I don't know that you can go any higher, at least that we can. If anyone could, it would have been the highest of priests. And let's take a look at some of this detail in a second after I panned up. So you're now looking at the top of Mount Meru, at one of the most iconically revered 8th wonder, if you will, of the world, Angkor Wat. Here's some nice detail. And then 3 asperas at the back here. And here another Buddha with the 7 cobra heads. Presumably this is an original one. View of the temple entrance and causeway. And those 2 buildings, incidentally, are libraries, or were libraries in theory. And now looking down at successive terraces, or continents, if you will. Remember, all that area out around here 1,300 years ago would have been covered by wooden buildings, homes, offices, other kinds of complexes that have all disappeared because only stone could be used for, and could be justified to be used for, the religious monument. And again, notice this detail against the side. All of it hand done. Here's what going down looks like.